brushed hair, and I like to do it on day 2 hair, so have your dancer like not wash their hair the night before you do this, unless their hair gets really oily. So if their hair is really oily, then I would have freshly washed hair because it's going to show in the poof. But so I'm going to start with freshly brushed hair and pull all of the hair back, and then I'm going to section it so that there's at least like 4 inches covering most of their forehead, and bring it back into like a U halfway back to their hair. My beautiful little model sitting right here with her gorgeous long hair. Alrighty. Ooh, we got some static going on. Whoa. So I'm going to then take this hair, and I don't know, here, will you tilt your head down? There we go. You can see, hopefully, that there's a good U shape right here, and I'm stopping about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from like the very top part of her head. Okay, you can pull up. And now I'm going to start by sectioning this section off, but I'm also going to check the front to make sure it's all even. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, and you want it to be pretty even all the way around, so like make sure that each of these little hairs, there's not like crossing right here, if that makes sense. You want it to be a nice straight line. And then you can, will you hold that for me? There we go. I'm going to pull the hair that I'm going to use later, or not later, depending on what we do with the hair, and just put it in a ponytail so it doesn't like get mixed in as I go. Beautiful. Alrighty. So I'm going to take this section, there you go, and I'm going to grab just a small little bit from the back. So I just use my finger. You can use like those rat tail combs, I think is what they call them, if you really want to, but it doesn't need to be perfect. You're just going to start teasing her hair. But I want to grab a pretty thin section when you're teasing. It doesn't need to be very thick. You want to do it in a lot of layers so that it gets a lot of volume in it. I use this, I think it's a Conair brush. I don't know if you can see it really, but it has a lot of boar bristles in it, and like some normal bristles. I can show like a different teasing comb you can use too. You just want something that's going to like really knot up the hair, I guess. That kind of sounds bad, but I don't know. And then I'm just going to back comb the hair. So I'm going to take it from about, that's not even the middle of her hair, so like 4 inches from the root, and just pull it down. And I'm going to release it every time. And I'm just back combing. And you can see it when you're doing it from the back, like where the hair is knotting up. So like this side over here is not knotting up as fast. So I want it to get even with the rest of the hair on the left side. Right side, I guess, if you're watching the video. And then once I get a good enough there, I'm going to take the front of it and just kind of do the exact same so that all the hairs in that section are nice and teased. And so now when I lay that back, it looks super goofy and really tall, but it'll get fixed later. And then I'm just going to keep working with this section. So taking a small section, it's pretty thin. I mean like maybe a 1/2 inch of a section in depth, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a hair person. I just like to think I am. And then I make sure it's nice and brushed out because you're going to start back combing again. And you do the exact same thing. Sometimes these pieces can get really wide. So again, you can just like back comb on certain spots. And if you like struggle with this, you can obviously ask me for more help. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of what I typically do. And you want it to be pretty even all throughout the strand, if I haven't said that already. Because then when you pull it all back, it'll be all nice and even. So you just kind of go back and forth between the front of the hair strand and the back of the hair strand. And then you can kind of smooth it out as you keep working so that once you pull it all together, it's not all lumpy and weird. And let's see. I've got one more good section. If the dancer's hair is really thin, it can be a little bit more tricky. So don't worry about volume with it, just trying to get a good little base so that they have a little poof. It doesn't need to be really big, it just needs to be proportional to their head, because it can sometimes be very large. And if the dancer has really thick hair, instead of coming back so far on the back of their head when you pull the hair back, you can go a little bit further up so that you have room to do whatever else you're doing with the hair later on. And then you're not like teasing a lot of hair. Okay, so this is the last section I'm gonna do for her hair. And I don't wanna tease it as much as these other two sections. So these ones have a lot of front combing in them too. This one I just wanna do quite a lot to the back of it so that it has structure, but I want it to still look smooth when I pull it back. So I'm gonna stop at about that much and see what I'm working with. So I'm gonna comb this all out and shape it. Alrighty. You don't want to see a lot of bumps. I like to have a nice smooth top layer. And then you're just gonna take some bobby pins. Really doesn't matter which kind you use. I like the Conair ones. And let's see here, got a pocket. I'm gonna take all of the hair and make sure I'm just grabbing what I've used. And then I'm just gonna play around with it until it sits to where I want it. And you can kind of look in the front and grab your brush and smooth it out. All right, so this one, I'm gonna need to do a little bit more combing in the front. You can kind of tell now that's sitting really far back on her head. There's a lot of combing here. I want more up front so that it's not as large in the back, because we're still gonna do more to the hair later. Or in a different video, depending on which one you're watching. So I'm just gonna take that front section I was working with and comb a little bit more into it, so that has more volume in the front of the poof. And the sections pick up pretty easily, so you're able to kind of go back to where you were working with. And I'm just really lightly brushing over this hair, not like digging into it. I don't want to get the knots out, I just want to smooth this top layer just a little bit. I feel like I put a bobby pin down somewhere, I don't know where I put it. Alrighty. Okay, so I've collected it all in the hand where I want it, and I'm poofing it up or pushing it forward on her forehead a little bit more, and I'm even grabbing some of the tease. So I don't know if I can necessarily show this, but there's teasing like right here. I'm grabbing up even further than that. So some of the teasing's going to just be pulled back. That's fine. It's going to be pinned under. It's not even going to be what's showing. But I'm going to grab it all. Hopefully you can get it all into your fingers. If not, work from a side to a side, and then you're just going to pin it down, and I'll pick up the phone in a second and show you how I pin this. But I work with one side first, and then I'll do the other side. So I've only got 2 bobby pins in here so far. Oops, that one turned. There we go. And I'm gonna check the hair again. Looking nice and large and in charge. And I'll take, like, depending on how thick the dancer's hair is, obviously you don't want it to move around while they're dancing, so putting about like 4 to 6 bobby pins in the poof at least, and just getting it nice and pinned down, especially if this is all that they're doing with their hair. You don't want it to fall. All right, I think that's probably gonna be good. Maybe one more. It's not like you're dancing after this. Okay. I'll pick up the phone and show this in a second. Next, you would just hairspray just the poof, just so that it stays nice and flat. This is looking pretty good. If there's dips in it or whatever, you can kind of just go through. So like this side's a little bit higher. I'm just going to kind of pull out some pieces so that it is nice and rounded on the top. And that's basically it. So this is how I have it pinned in the back. So I started here and pinned one bobby pin in going diagonally. Same on this side, diagonal, and then just kind of layered in a few more bobby pins, just like that, pulling through the side. That's it.